Hi everyone, this is the Incept CONNECT Podcast. My name is John Osberg. I'm joined today in Incept HQ's studio here in downtown Buffalo with one Marta Hiczewski of the Magellan Group. Marta, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's nice to be here.
It's great to be here. We were talking off air a little bit about this podcast and the exciting updates that we have to share. Really, the whole intent of this podcast today is to showcase partners and clients of ours. In this case, a partner of Incept Digital's, who we work hand in hand with in the community to support a wide variety of nonprofits. And we've got some cool things that we want to unpack that are resonant, especially as we start to kind of come out of the whole COVID world. And there's, the welcoming back of, really board servitude and community service. There's a lot of need. And so we're here to talk a bit about how you can plug in and get connected to opportunities to serve our community. So we'll step back. Marta, a little bit about yourself for our audience.
Well, I'm a partner in the Magellan Group. We're a management consulting business, and we do organization development, strategic planning, and operations management to support program delivery and improve financial performance in the healthcare and nonprofit environments.
Excellent. And how did you find yourself in the Magellan Group? What was your path to it?
My path from South Florida to Buffalo. Everybody says, gee, everybody goes the other way. I came this way.
Right.
My husband and business partner is from Buffalo, New York, and you fall in love with it.
Right.
I mean, Western New York is a tremendous place to raise a family and grow your business and be engaged in any number of things, which is really, really exciting and has kept us here, this whole time. And I spent 20 years at Rich Products and with the Buffalo Bisons and Rich Entertainment, and had the benefit of all that experience and really involvement and forethought and engagement of that organization. And they really focus on their infrastructure, right? So they spend a lot of time developing their people and the things that they're involved with, and so I was a beneficiary of that in my growth within Western New York. And in 2003, so almost 20 years ago, purchased a business that I had started with Rich Entertainment Group, and ended up partnering with my husband and developed the Magellan Group, and have really, over the course of the last 7 or 8 years, really honed in on nonprofit and healthcare organization. There's a tremendous need to help those organizations really improve their performance, to sort of bring a business perspective to what they do. We often say that nonprofit is your legal form; it cannot be your business model.
Well said.
You need to be able to be thinking about how you can be sustainable and grow, and really. Because ultimately it is about how do you deliver programming to people and animals and children in need.
Right. Well said. And I would say, I know we certainly would agree on this statement, but organizations, people, families, companies are only as strong as the communities in which they reside.
That's right.
And that's why there's such a focus on the nonprofit, because there is such a need. Right now, we see it every single day. We see it in the news. We see it when we're driving to work, when we're walking on the streets. There's a lot of need, and so it's great that we're partnered up together to deliver services that are growth focused. So that's part of why we're here.
That's right.
So we'll jump into it. So thanks for your background. It's certainly impressive and energizing. I would like to so really stepping back again. We have nonprofits that we support in tandem, right? As a joint effort, if you will, and
from a business perspective.
Right. Correct. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
And so, certainly, I'll step back even individually. I'm on a lot of boards. I know you are.
Me too, individually.
Exactly.
Right, as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of need, and it's great to plug in with our, as you would say, I'm going to steal it for a second, your time, your talent, your treasure.
That's right.
We'll get to that shortly. But what we're doing here today is to talk about the nonprofits that we do serve that have opportunity for our community members to take an active role in helping grow and guiding. So maybe we step back a little and we think more about the nonprofits and what opportunities lie there for those that are watching or listening to this.
Yeah, there are, I'll tell you, some of the folks, we have both organizations that we work with together that are in urban settings, but also in rural communities.
Right.
And there's something to be said for the impact that an individual can have in a rural community. Poverty doesn't look the same. It looks very different in a rural setting than it does in an urban setting. But it's just as important to really help that community and help those individuals. It is about stabilizing and helping them grow and be self-sufficient and be part of that community, to contribute to those communities. So, some of the work that we do, and I know we're going to talk about it really in the video offline. People
Right.
can contact us and talk to us directly about the kinds of organizations or the individual organizations that we think that we're involved with that might be important to them. But this concept of time, talent, and treasure, right? There's the opportunity to give of your time, and it could be from volunteering to to walk next to a horse.
Right.
That's one of the
Equine therapy,
involvements
right.
that I have. And support an individual, a child who may have a disability, a developmental disability, connecting with them in other ways, helping of your time on committees.
Right.
There's a lot of need for the right kinds of folks to help, and when we talk about talent, to be able to give of your professional talent, but also a skill set that you might have.
Right.
They don't all need just CPAs and lawyers.
Right.
They need marketers or social media folk or people who are good at doing events or connecting people, right? And that takes us into the treasure piece. Yeah, organizations need unrestricted funding so that they can continue to provide service, so they can provide competitive compensation for their workers, that kind of thing, and connecting,
right.
Like connect with your friends and family and businesses and help them understand why you should be donating money to help positively financially impact these organizations.
Yeah, and the best, thanks for sharing. I love that. It's funny, I was just with, it seems like you may know that individual I mentioned off air. I was with someone yesterday, a mentor of mine who used time, talent, and treasure with me and some of his advisement to me in our catch-up lunch. And so it sounded funny, catch-up lunch, like catch up, and not like ketchup, but not like the, not
you
like
ketchup,
which,
though.
yes,
I know,
you saw that last week.
Yes.
Yeah, I sure do. But it's part of it's that action. It's that act now mentality. There's another great quote that I think I shared last week, which is impatient with action, but patient with results. So the action that we need to take, our call to action, is to get people excited about these opportunities to serve. And one of the best ways to do it is to jump, 2 feet in and just start. Now, there are things you can do in advance to feel out those opportunities,
Absolutely.
right? To learn about the organization, to speak to some of the folks that are looking to recruit these board members or volunteers. I could use myself as a great example. 7-8 years ago, I've got a passion for golf. I love working with youth. Well, the First Tee of West New York was really a wonderful fit for me, and I had some trepidation. I think we talked about it off air, and here we are now recording to get involved. And I had a mentor that pushed me and said, just give it a call, give it a chance, give it a tour. Get a tour, I should say, to figure out what it is that you'd be doing. And then really, when you are involved and you are immersed in the environment, you see the impact you can have. And once you see that impact, that's where like the energy starts. That's where that I need to be doing this. I need to be serving.
Right.
And then another couple layers deep, when you are then seeing the impact you're having, in this case with youth, and seeing their eyes light up when they hit that ball for the first time, they got off the ground and went straight. I get goosebumps talking about it. You then have chances to learn from these young people, and you then have chances to, in my case, talk with some of the parents, in which one of them was a very influential C-level individual with a large hospital organization here, who became a friend and a mentor, an advisor, and someone that I am doing business with. Some time later, but you got to plant those seeds.
Yeah, and that's you're exactly right.
Right.
That's something that nonprofit involvement is a networking opportunity.
Sure is.
And it's an outside of business, but it's a business opportunity, particularly for people who are getting started. need to build up their network of connections. And some of the nonprofits that we work with, for example, one of them is developing a respite and recovery center, the first of its kind in New York State, that will be in downtown Buffalo, and is very close to building out. They have the facility, they're looking at building it. You think about recovery, people are interested in mental health, right? The idea of recovery and supporting recovery as opposed to people being admitted in the hospital. Now you have a location for them where they're supporting that growth and recovery. So those people are getting better, and that's supported when they need help, rather than it just sort of being on that hamster wheel where you're just sort of always in the hospital, out of that. Exactly. And I think that's, we all want to get away from that, right? Others that we're working with are reaching out to the Native communities and are involved in the Native communities. Others that we are involved with are involved in the Hispanic communities and the Latino communities. So we have a broad range of people organizations that we're working with and populations that they're serving. But that's exciting because you can really begin to sort of find the passion in all of it, right? Like, how do you deliver that as a person? And you opened up by saying, we're coming out of this pandemic, and we're all sort of looking at where are we going from here? Like, what are we doing? What's the next iteration of who we are, going forward? And some of it, and I hope, it's people looking at themselves and saying, I spent 2 years, working from home or not, struggling with that. Now, how do I get involved and give back? And being involved in a nonprofit, either at the board level, which is great, but folks don't need to wait to be at the board level. You can get involved in committees that help raise money for an organization, or in a program in some way, in support of it, in connecting, with those organizations. They all want to show you their place. Like you said, the tour, they all want to. They'll show it to you.
They're proud of it.
They're proud of what they're doing.
That's happening
exactly.
There, right?
They're proud of it, and they want to talk to you about it. And I think, there's hesitation, and it's not just young people. It's anybody who at first is thinking about getting involved with an organization. There may be some trepidation about picking up the phone and saying, bothering them and saying, I'd like to talk to you about your organization. It's okay to call and say, I'm really just exploring. I want to understand. I want to get involved in some of these things. I want to know more about what you do. Can I come down and talk to you? And then you don't have to jump with,
no
both
obligation,
feet necessarily. Right. There's no obligation. There's an opportunity to just stay connected. And those people are looking for people who are actively interested in the community, because they'll continue to have that relationship with you for as long as that's possible.
And it's so well said there, Marta. And I would add into that something, again, off air, that we had talked about was social capital. Yeah. Right. That's one of the byproducts of this. Social right. And I'm seeing that in my career. Right. I've been in the business world for about 8-9 years. And I didn't start really getting heavily involved in community until, just as a parallel here, right? So, as a showcase in a sense, for me, I started maybe a couple of years into my career. And so it's been 6-7 years of just very devoted, committed support of a series of nonprofits that I work with and for. And now I'm seeing years later all those relationships that I've built.
Right.
It's almost it's hard to say in words, but like, for me, as someone who's a biz dev focused person, wants to grow businesses, wants to grow awareness, it's almost like the ask doesn't need to be made. Right. It's that I've been supporting these companies. I built such a strong relationship with someone that when it's, hey, we have an opportunity, where I'm supporting right now one of my clients or Incept in general as an example, and it's already there. It's already built to say, we'd love to learn more. We'd love to see if there's a way we can do business together. Not to make it transactional, but that's just how it works, right?
But it's that give and get, right?
Exactly.
It's like the more you give, the more you get, and it really is. It is.
Sounds
true.
cliche, but it is true.
Right? It
is
cliche,
so true.
But it really is true, and it expands your network of people in an environment that's that they are also giving and interested and have similar passions, and it creates a sense of trust. I have one organization that I've been on the board for 15 years now
Wow.
that I love.
Yeah.
And I was board chair for 4 years, so I was super immersed
Yes.
in the organization, and you know, they're a fantastic organization, and the people I have met and the doors that it has opened for me, and from a business perspective, that you know, that wasn't my initial intention.
Right.
And honestly, it was all because someone reached out to me. Someone reached out to me and said, you know, I know that you have an interest in developmental disabilities, that was part of your, you know, your education back in the day, and I want to talk to you about this organization. I think you'd be a great fit, and they need someone who has some marketing background. And so I met with them, and I had a conversation, and it was a slow kind of roll. I had to think about what that meant. That was my first, you know, real foray into being on a board of a nonprofit. Because prior to that, I was raising children, and I was in a very, you know, talk about baseball, you know, a lot of time in baseball, you know, downtown. Yeah. So I met with them, and I had this great conversation with them, and I started to stick my toe in the water. And I think you're absolutely right. At some point you realize, yeah, I'm good with 2 feet, right? And I can get involved in this, and I can be on this board, and I can be involved to the degree that I need to be, or where I need to be.
Absolutely.
And I see, even in that time period, that 15 years that I've been on the board, yes, as board chair for 4 years, but I've been involved in different projects and different committees, you know, things that interested me along the line, opening the door for them to potentially get more funding for different reasons. So, you know, you find your path. It's not necessarily something where you have to come in and, like, you know, there's a prescribed way.
It's not linear.
No, it's not linear. Sometimes. That's exactly right.
I like to prescribe, though, because it's not. And I would just add into this conversation that when people talk networking is such a topic now.
It is.
How do I get a bigger network? How do I make more connections? This is the foundational way to do it.
It is. You're absolutely
organically right. Too, right? I mean, I've encountered some folks where, you know, you can you get a little bit of a sense that they're in there to try to get some, you know, not transactionality out of it, but, you know, if you go in there with pure intentions, with good heart, or in earnest, right? That's why, and again, we're kind of giving examples from each of our own lives and our own experiences. For me, people say, John, how do you know everybody? Because I serve, because I give, because I care. And then it's just like, people want to be around that passion. They want to be around that energy. And then you need some support. You need some help in whatever, personal, professional, anything. You can make the calls because you've built those relationships, and life is built on relationships.
It is.
Companies don't run themselves. People run the companies.
No. And there are positions, for example, on boards or in organizations that corporations kind of hold, and different individuals, you know, fill that role, and that's great.
Sure.
They fill that role, you know, for that organization, because that company has made a commitment to that organization, and that's lovely. But then there are also those sort of, as you said, organically, those places that you step into because you find that it's a passion, and they have a good board or a good organization, you know, that you can work with, and you choose to get involved, and you start learning about really what's out there. You know, and there are places, that organizations that do that, like Leadership Buffalo. Right. You know, that's much more structured in how you get involved in that. You know, but having the opportunity to talk to organizations and be involved with organizations and the individuals. I mean, I have this network of people that is like, you know, in
deep.
Every field.
It's deep. It's
yeah,
deep.
It's very
You're connected.
broad.
Yeah.
So I can pick up the phone and call UB and say, hey, I want to talk to you about, you know, can you help support something like this? Or what do you think about this? Right. You know, or I can call, you know, one of the foundations. You know, and present a concept or an idea to them in a way that is readily accepted, because they know. You know, they've learned, they've gotten to understand your involvement. And, you know, and I'll say it, you know, again, as we transition from the pandemic into, or COVID, or whatever we're calling it, you know, whatever it is, you know, those 2 years pretty much of isolation, it's time for, you know, that opportunity, that connection.
We were in contraction, now we're coming to expansion.
Exactly.
Right? That's what we're doing.
It's expansion.
As the lights go down, I don't know if that's our cue in a sense, but hopefully the lighting's okay, and if not, we'll get it dialed in. But we're gonna just keep trucking on, and we're nearing our where we'll adjourn and wrap this up. And so I think that's a good segue in that really, again, the whole intent of this was to showcase that the nonprofits that we're working with together as businesses, right, that we're supporting, that we're helping grow, there's need, right? Plain and simple, there is a need, and we are both Marta and myself are both connectors to these boards, and we care about the success of these organizations and actualizing their missions.
That's right.
Like my LinkedIn headline says, actualizing your mission. Let's go. So. Please, our audience, you've heard from Marta, who has this deep experience, has an incredible network, is incredibly well respected and connected, I like to say. And myself too, as I'm still like in the earlier part of my career, there's a reason why people will say, John, it seems like you have the network of a 50 or 60-year-old. It's because it's just wanting to give, wanting to serve, wanting to learn about those who need it most. So reach out to us. We will have show notes prepared. So there will be some emails that we can be reached at, both for Magellan Group and for Incept, to learn more, to connect with us. You can also find Marta on LinkedIn and myself, which again will be in the show notes. But really, the whole goal here was to showcase that there's a need. We know there are folks out there that are energized, that have the experience, that have the desire to do well, to do good, and to support. We're here as beacons of light, if you will, on those organizations that need that support. So.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. So
this was fun.
So we're inviting you in.
Yeah, please.
Come on down.
Please join us. Seriously. Yes. I mean, there's nothing better than seeing people in general hit those milestones, get that, find that growth.
It's good for everybody.
It's just, I literally got like actual goosebumps here. The progress, right? Progress over perfection here. And this is a good way to wrap up. So
well, thank you, John.
Thank you, Marta, for joining. This was a lot of fun. And we, again, as Incept, right, I got my Incept gear on. We're grateful to be partnered with someone as esteemed as the Magellan Group and the great work you're doing.
And likewise.
We appreciate it. So yes, that about wraps this up. Thanks for watching the Incept Connect podcast. And again, we will have quite a bit of information that you can find that will allow you to connect with us and learn more. So we'll see you on the next segment of the Incept Connect podcast. Thank you.
Bye-bye.